Welcome into Cllct TV. I'm Kevin Jackson. We're here today with Josh Luber, the founder and CEO of Ghostwrite, talking to him about a really cool project they have coming up, which is going to be the Land of Boz Ghostwrite. For children of the 80s like myself, you may remember the famous Brian Bosworth Wizard of Oz inspired Costacos brothers poster from the 80s, and Ghostwrite is jumping in on that bit of nostalgia with their newest drop. So welcome in, Josh. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, I know your slogan over there at Ghostwrite is Ghosts Tell Stories. The story of that poster is a pretty amazing one. What attracted you to that particular story?
Well, I mean, Kevin, first of all, thanks for having me and for the intro. We're about the same age, we're about the same generation, and I mean, isn't that all we've been trying to do this whole time is just, reconnect with our childhood and find the cards we didn't have as a kid or find the sneakers we didn't have as a kid. And, when we started Ghostwrite, we started working on Ghostwrite 3 years ago. We made our first Ghost 2 years ago. We sold our first Ghost 1 year ago. So company's only about a year old in terms of making products for sale for other people. And there's a number of different sizes. Ghostwrite is a collectible toy brand. We sort of taken the best of sneakers, the best of trading cards, and applied it in a form factor in collectible toys. Actually, of one here, I just happen to have in my hand. This is actually Jalen Brunson. We are in the process right now of releasing our NBA set, which very much functions like trading cards, where you have all the different players, and there's like a variant here that he's got a yellow, green crown, so that's like a low numbered variant. But like this idea of having collectible toys that can be Jalen Brunson or can be an NBA basketball or can be, work with different brands, allows us then to work with basically anyone we want. And as we were getting this off the ground about 2 years ago, we first started making Ghosts. I swear to God, like late night, one night, almost like out of a movie, I was moving stuff around on my desk. And, like a lot of people, my desk is piled with stuff everywhere. And underneath all these papers on my desk, I found the old Costacos brothers poster book that they made, I don't know, maybe about a decade ago. And like, just like you, I mean, I saw all the posters in back. We were talking earlier. I'm jealous that you can't see my office with all my cool posters is there, but
Sure.
same thing. So I had all the Costacos brothers posters and Nike posters, all that, and the cover of that book has the Land of Oz poster, and I was just like, I wonder if we could do this. And I started doing some research, and I figured out how to get in touch with John Costacos. Yeah, there you go, you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. It's right there, and where is it? It's in the lower right hand corner there. The Land of Oz. I mean, everyone on that is iconic. Everyone's iconic. And I was just like, man, I wonder if I get a hold of John Costacos. And it's like, I don't know, 1 a.m., right? And I live in Austin, and I find him on Instagram, and I send him a DM at 1 a.m. and he DMs me back immediately. He lives in Seattle, so it's a little bit, a couple hours earlier, and he says, I've been following your career. I'm a big fan of StockX. My nephew's a big fan of StockX. Good to hear from you. And started a conversation. We got on the phone that night and started talking about it. And he was just excited to be able to have this opportunity to go back and revisit, this amazing story. And so that's what kicked this off to be able to do this. And so, well, we can talk more about it, but like that's how this whole thing started. It was like literally something out of a movie. It's like, oh, dusting this off. It's like from the Goonies or something. It was awesome.
So a lot of you mentioned a lot of the great work you guys are doing currently with the NBA. I know you had a celebrated WNBA drop earlier this year. A lot of what you're doing is, the timing is capitalizing on current athletes, current teams and leagues. This one's a nostalgia play. And I'm curious, Josh, how involved are you in kind of picking the stories you guys want to tell with Ghost, and how much are you playing off maybe stories from the past as opposed to a current athlete like a Jalen Brunson or Cllct?
Yeah, so it's a good distinction. Actually, so there's three main sizes of ghosts. This size, which we call 100%, it's about 2.5 inches tall. This is primarily for blind boxes where you open up the box, you don't know what player you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to have a rare variant. And this is primarily what we use for the sports league. So it operates very much like trading cards. I don't have with me, but the 11 inch, which is called 400 100%, about this high. That's kind of the flagship product. And for the Land of Oz, it happens to actually be the first time that we're doing a pair of a 400% with a 100%. So you have, there's two in it. But most of the 400%, in fact, actually all of them, are very rarely current sports related. They're much more culturally related. And some of them have been, much more newer companies. So we did one with the golf brand Eastside Golf, where we actually turned their mascot into a ghost, and then they used that as tee box markers for their golf tournament, which was a very cool thing. You had these on the court, and then they gave them to on the course and gave them to people afterwards. So I'm extremely involved in all of it, almost to a fault. I think a lot of the younger people on the team have said, "What's this poster that we're doing?" First of all, they're like, "What's a poster?" Right? And then so yeah, this is the fun part of this, to go back and tell the stories that we want to tell. And because the nature of what we do is very limited, I mean, we'll only make 100 total units for the Land of Oz. It's okay. Like, we want to tap in and tell like that story that means so much to that group of people, whether it's Seattle fans or Costacos Brothers Posters fans or Oklahoma Sooners fans, whatever it is around Boz. Like, that's okay. And that's kind of what we get to do, which is just so much fun.
All right, I want to talk to you a little about that poster because, as I mentioned to you before we started here, had that poster on my wall as a 16-year-old, grew up a Seahawks fan, was ecstatic when they won that supplemental draft and got Boz. And Bosworth was in that time was really an anti-hero. He was a rebel. He had his marketing dialed in pretty strong in what he was doing, the character he was presenting. That poster was kind of representative of that. He had a lot of things going on there. He was wearing the 44, which the NFL had not allowed him to wear as a rookie. He was, there's no NFL marks in it. He's got Dorothy with him. He's got the Boskin with him. Talk to me a little bit about what that poster represented to you as somebody who was also growing up in that era.
Yeah, well, like we should, recognize this is the part why it's great that you get to talk to John and then get to talk to Boz and get
Yeah.
their point of view on it as well. But I mean, I had all the same points of view as a kid. My room was covered with posters. I grew up in Philly, and but I was just a fan of all sports. And one half of my room was basically Sports Illustrated covers, a whole room ceiling, etc. And the other room was posters. And I remember very specifically over my bed the Sports Illustrated cover of Brian Bosworth when he was drafted.
Mm.
And that was just like one of those ones that was like always right in my face, like the whole time. And it's like you look across like all these other covers and you have like Elway, Marino, and and Montana, and all these like stoic like NFL players that are like something out of a central casting. And then by the way, and Dion was the other, right? It was like
Yeah.
Dion Sports Illustrated cover and Boz, like, and as a kid, you have the same sort of like, you wish you could be a rebel, or you wish you could have that level of just charisma that these guys had. And so, yeah, it was pretty. I mean, look, the idea here is that if this one does well and the relationship continues, then we'll do other Costacos Brothers posters. But there's a reason we chose this one first, right? This is the one that's like, everything about Boz and everything else. So also, as you know, it's like there's a whole lot of what if, as you go
Mhm.
through the storytelling of what could have happened, if Boz's career had gone a little bit differently.
Yeah. Certainly, the shoulder injury there derailed his career. A lot of people remember the collision with Bo Jackson, but Boz was a player who was really coming to his own before he started to battle those injuries.
Yep.
Uh, uh, so let's talk a little bit about the drop. There'll be about 100 of these available. You mentioned the 400 by 100 model, which is the first for you guys. So the 400%, you're going to get Boz. You're going to get the shades on there. I assume you might get that haircut. And then the
Yep.
100%er to go with it is the little Boskin, as they called it, I believe, at the time. The kid who was in the poster with him. So tell us
Yeah.
about that part of the drop and how cool that is.
Yeah, so for those who are familiar with the collectible toy space, Ghostwrite is similar to Bear Brick. Bear Brick is the leader in the space by a Japanese company called Medicom. They've been making Bear Brick since the year 2000, and same sizes, very sort of similar ethos. And Bear Brick's been doing this for a long time, where they'll sell a pair of 400%, 100% pair, and usually it's just the same design at different sizes. Um, we weren't planning on doing that. And then we took a closer look at the poster when we were talking to Brian and to John. And everything about that poster is just extraordinary. I mean, the outfits, the people in the background, the design, every part of it. And it was like, oh, it was just a, sort of a perfect sort of like, because we knew at some point we would do 400, 100% pairs. It's sort of a natural evolution and so this was like just a perfect place to start and to do it. And honestly, it took a minute to figure out just what are the logistics of creating a Ghost for a Boskin, because obviously, like, that doesn't exist. That's not like a thing, right? Like they made it for the poster to be able
Right.
to do that. And so very, very cool to be able to have this dynamic. By the way, the ghost of Brian, the 400%, the 11 inch, it's an interesting thing because it is, of course, Brian, but it's really a ghost of the poster. And so there's this thing, like, obviously he's the main character in it, but like, there's a lot of Easter eggs on it. If you look at the back of the head, you sort of have the yellow brick road, and then you can actually see the poster itself has a ton of Easter eggs if you look closely in terms
Hmm.
of what it says in different places. There's references to the kingdom and other things. And so there's a lot of Easter eggs on the ghost itself that it's like it's a ghost of the poster, but obviously the main character being Brian. So.
Well, it's really exciting. I've been following what you guys do, been totally impressed, and to see that you're going deeper into the storytelling aspect, and might be bringing my walls to life with all those Costacos brothers posters that I and others had. That's incredibly exciting. I can't wait to see which ones you do next, Josh.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And hopefully, we get to work with some of these athletes. That was also part of this in the fact that, John was super responsive and he said, you know what? He said, Brian's a great guy. I'm sure he'd be interested. And we were on the phone with him, a week later, and he's been amazingly supportive in this as well. And, is engaged and involved in this. And so as we figure out what other posters to do, hopefully we'll find other athletes that are excited to do this with us.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today on Collect TV, and I'm sure that the team at Collect will be putting our suggestions together on which posters you should do next. I've already got my wheels are already turning, so very excited.
Bring it, please.